While building muscle in your 40s can get a bit more complicated, it doesn't mean muscle gains have to slow down. In fact, this study comparing young men and older men, both following a resistance training program for 16 weeks, found that the older men gained just about the same amount of muscle as the younger men. And this study comparing the effects of an 8-week resistance training program on middle-aged men and college-aged men found that both groups experienced similar strength gains. Not only that, but the middle-aged men gained 17% more muscle. So, while age alone isn't the reason your gains have slowed down, there are a few age-related factors that could be hindering your progress. And that's exactly what I want to discuss in this video: the reasons you're not building muscle in your 40s and how to fix it. So, without further ado, let's jump right in. First, let's talk about protein and why you may not be eating enough of it. As we age, some of us experience anabolic resistance, a phenomenon that causes a reduction in muscle protein synthesis rates in response to dietary protein. Thus, research shows that older men require more protein than younger men to stimulate muscle protein synthesis maximally. In one study, researchers had middle-aged men consume different portions of cooked ground beef ranging from 0 to 170 grams. They found that the most significant rise in muscle protein synthesis came from the highest amount of protein. This means that the amount of protein you consume directly affects how much muscle you build. And while increasing your total protein intake may be helpful, what you really want to pay attention to is how you distribute your protein throughout the day. Thus, to maximize muscle growth, it's more effective to focus on getting enough protein per meal, ideally around 40 grams, to enhance the anabolic effects of your protein consumption. Another reason your muscle gains may have slowed down has to do with energy intake. It's important to recognize that the muscle you're trying to build requires an adequate source of energy. Some studies have found that caloric restriction can negatively impact your gains, as it may lead to an increased rate of muscle protein breakdown. This is why you should eat more. According to these studies, eating in a caloric surplus leads to better rates of muscle growth. And before you use that as an excuse to stuff your face with endless amounts of calories, consider this. According to this study from the Frontiers in Nutrition journal, a conservative caloric surplus of 300 to 500 calories a day will suffice to let you maximally build muscle while minimizing fat gain. In other words, you should be consuming slightly more than you're burning. So, if you're consuming 1 gram of protein per pound of body weight daily, split into 3 to 5 meals of 40 grams per meal, while also ensuring you're eating slightly more calories than you're burning, your nutrition is pretty much covered. The next thing we must address is training and why we may need to train harder. One 2021 study showed that rep ranges, whether 1 to 5, 8 to 12, or 15 and above, can all lead to similar rates of muscle growth. Similarly, another study confirmed that there are no significant differences in muscle hypertrophy across a wide spectrum of loading ranges, so long as we're training with at least 30% of our 1 rep max. Thus, the key to muscle growth is not the rep range, but rather the level of effort you exert during training. If you prefer to train with lighter loads, however, consider this. When training with lighter weights, muscle fiber activation relies on fatigue mechanisms, which typically kick in after several reps, thus you'll need to train close to failure. In contrast, when lifting heavier weights, muscle fiber activation is already near maximal from the first rep, meaning the entire muscle experiences a significant growth stimulus right away. In essence, when you train hard, you maximize muscle fiber recruitment, allowing the greatest number of muscle fibers to experience mechanical tension. Another thing we should consider for jump-starting new muscle growth is switching up your exercises. While the exercises you're performing might be great, it could be time to introduce new movements that challenge your muscles in fresh ways. Take this study on quad training, where they compared squats and leg extensions. They found that squats significantly activated the vastus lateralis and vastus medialis, while leg extensions primarily recruited the rectus femoris. When it comes to training the hamstrings, one study found that the seated leg curl led to significantly greater size gains in all hamstring muscles compared to the lying leg curl. And if your calves aren't growing, a 2023 study revealed that standing calf raises are significantly more effective for developing the gastrocnemius compared to doing them seated. To put it simply, some exercises target a muscle region better than other exercises, so don't be afraid to switch things up a bit. The last thing we want to ensure in our training is sufficient volume. As we age, we tend to reduce our training volume, perhaps to avoid overtraining or aid recovery. This reduction in volume, however, may be the reason your gains have slowed down. This meta-analysis, examining 49 different studies, found that workout programs with higher training volumes led to significantly greater increases in lean body mass among older adults. This 2012 study, comparing resistance training variables in both younger and older men, revealed that while increasing exercise volume had minimal impact on younger participants, older men who doubled their exercise volume experienced a significant increase in muscle protein synthesis rates. This suggests that upping your training volume is a powerful strategy to counteract the age-related decline in muscle anabolism. To summarize, make sure you're pushing yourself in the gym, introducing new exercises to challenge your muscles differently, and do more volume. With training and nutrition covered, we have the final pillar of muscle growth: recovery. To optimize recovery, don't underestimate the importance of rest intervals between sets. This study, published in the Journal of Experimental Physiology, compared two groups. One group rested for 5 minutes and the other for just 1 minute. The results showed that the group with the longer rest period achieved a 152% increase in muscle protein synthesis levels, while the shorter rest group only reached about half of that. In this similar study, researchers found that participants who took 3 minutes of rest between sets experienced significantly greater muscle growth than those who rested for just 1 minute. And while we don't all have hours to spend in the gym, I do recommend aiming for at least 3 minutes in between sets for your big heavy compound lifts. And last but not least, you need better sleep. Muscle recovery is kicked into overdrive while we sleep, and not getting enough sleep can hinder your body's ability to fully recover. Sleep deprivation also affects your hormone production, the most important of which is testosterone. This study showed that men who only slept for 6 hours or less had testosterone levels that were more than 14% lower than men who routinely slept more than 8 hours. Similarly, a study from 2011 discovered that men restricted to 5 hours of sleep per night for just 7 days experienced a 10 to 15% drop in testosterone levels. Thus, optimal sleep significantly impacts your ability to build muscle. Ideally, you should aim for 7 to 9 hours of quality sleep each night. So, if you're not building muscle in your 40s, this is why. Fortunately, with just a few minor changes to your training, nutrition, and recovery, you can begin to experience the same muscle gains you did in your 20s. Did you find this video helpful? If so, click the like button below, as it'll truly help out the channel. Also, if you're a man in your 40s, 50s, 60s, or beyond who's tired of spinning their wheels, spending countless hours in the gym to no avail, then I'd love to work with you. Over the years, I've helped thousands of men just like you to get into the best shape of their life by burning fat, gaining muscle, and optimizing their hormones. As you can imagine, I can only take a handful of clients, so I'm looking for serious serious individuals only. That said, I've linked a short information page below where you can get more details about how all of this works and fill out the application form to see if we'd be a good fit to work together. So if that's you and you're ready to take action and finally achieve the results you know are possible, then click the link below, fill out the short application form, and let's get started. And if you haven't already, make sure you subscribe for more videos and don't forget to turn on post notifications so you don't miss the next one. Peace.